tape right now because I'm about to tell you the truth. And F you if you can't handle the truth. This version of Biden is the best Biden ever.
Everybody, welcome back to Jimmy Dore live stream. I've got our favorite money guys with us. Paul Stone is the co-founder and CEO of Colonial Metals Group, an advertiser on this show, a Florida-based precious metals supplier that helps clients develop secure retirement plans by investing in gold and silver, which I have done. His writings appear on his Substack at thepaulstone.substack.com. Welcome back to the show, Paul.
Absolutely great to be back. Thank you, Jimmy. How are you?
I'm doing. I'm a little exhausted. I could use it for vacation. Thanks for asking. But I saw this article in Bloomberg, and of course, I'm like, well, this is right up your alley. So it's this is from today, August 26th at 6 a.m. Gold bulls celebrate as Jackson Hole reinforces bets on rally. Why can't they just speak in normal language? Anyway, so what that means is that people who are bullish or people who are pro gold, they celebrate as the Fed chief gave a speech at Jackson Hole to reinforce their bets. Well, let me just get through it here a little bit. Gold's record-setting rally. I didn't know that gold was on a record-setting rally, but it is. Gold is on a record-setting rally above $2,500 an ounce. Looks to have further to run, even further to go, as the Federal Reserve prepares to chop rates. Traditional drivers such as low yields return, and Western investors pile back in. So, Paul, tell me, why is it when the Fed chief is going to, when he's predicting or he's signaling he's going to chop interest rates, that's what that means. Why does that make gold more attractive to people?
To me, there's two strong reasons for this. And firstly, I just want to say, I'm not a trained economist. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm trying to, as you do, Jimmy, throw illumination on things people should start considering for themselves. They could certainly call in and find us online and ask us their great questions, and we'll have great answers for that. But to answer this question here, one, and I've mentioned it before, if you considered cutting interest rates, jumping on the gas pedal in your vehicle, and raising interest rates is applying your foot on the brake. We don't want to drive full throttle, right? We don't drive full speed.
Right.
We moderate, and we're constantly using brakes and gas pedal, right? So if interest rates, if you look historically, before all the money printing started, before the 70s, generally averaging around 5 or 6%. So that's normal. So that's a good gas pedal and brake relationship. So here you are with this, wonderful expanding economy and everything's great. You have to start cutting rates. That means you have problems beneath the surface. So you need to start flooding the financial sphere with cheap dollars again. If you have infrastructure issues, erosion issues, fundamentals breaking apart, people look at gold and silver as a relief valve, right? An escape hatch, a bunker to lock in those great gains. Signals are now showing up for that those gains might not continue, and isn't selling high part of the equation. So when you leave these other typical realms for having your investments held for something safe and something outside of all that, gold and silver's prices go higher. The other thing about it is the attractiveness to just something going higher, right? As something goes higher, it catches more attention. It implies strength. It implies security as something seems to go higher in value. And gold indeed is that, because gold is never not gold.
Right. So do you think, well, let me just read a little bit more. So everybody thought the Fed was going to be the last to cut, but now they're getting in line. This guy says, who recently went long. He went long on gold options. This guy, he's the chief executive officer of Infrastructure Capital Advisors. He recently went long on gold options for the first time in years. Do you know what that means? What does that mean when someone says they go long? It means that they're investing for the long term.
Well, it means that they're talking of investing in virtual gold, which would be an ETF. You don't hold anything in your hands. There's nothing physical in your account. Options, meaning you could, again, this is a very rudimentary, plain explanation. Do more research if you were to consider ever doing anything with options beyond what I'm saying. But an option is to buy something at a later time, maybe at a higher price. So it's not owning the actual investment or the security or the physical ounce of gold.
Okay.
It's virtual. We recommend people consider how fragile that virtual world actually is and look to make their money physical, their retirement savings especially.
So ETFs, so if people don't know, I looked it up, and what I was able to garner what an ETF is, it's kind of like an investment firm, right? It's almost like a mutual fund where gold might be one of the things that they have their money in, an ETF, right? It's called the electronic transfer. I can't even remember what it stands for, but I know what it is. So that's what so think of an ETF as like an equity firm or an investment firm. That's what an ETF is. So Chair Jerome Powell's Jackson Hole speech, which promised, they go to Jackson Hole. That's funny. Which promised race cuts, was a watershed moment for bullion, according to Hatfield. Now, bullion, that's another term for gold, right? That's what they mean. Mm-hmm. So gold gets boost as ETF flows turn positive. So the red line here is ETF holdings. See, it's going up. And the black line is gold, and it's going up. Right. Look at that. It's up to 2,500. Look at that. So as bullion has dazzled this year. So gold, another term is gold has dazzled this year, setting a procession of records that marked out the precious metal as one of the strongest performers among major commodities. Its ascent in the first half came courtesy of strong central bank buying plus Asian purchases, which offset the drag from a rising U.S. dollar, higher treasury yields, and outflows from bullion-backed exchange-traded funds. Now, all three of those drivers may run in gold's favor. So that's interesting. That opportunity cost of holding gold is coming down, said Raif Damallo, a global macro portfolio manager at Gamma Asset. So the opportunity cost of holding gold is coming down. Can you explain what that means, the opportunity cost?
I think what they're getting at here is, if I could give you an analogy, if you were paid 7% a month to park your car in a certain garage, right? Or if they opened this garage and said, hey, we're paying 5%, we're paying 6%, we're paying 7%, people start parking there, right? Think of your money as that car. And then they start reducing how much they're going to pay you to park in that car. You're going to drive away and look for something else. The smart folks are seeing that cutting rates is a signal. I mean, the Fed is paying over $1 trillion a year in interest on the debt. So they're having to deal with these high interest rates as well. They would like to cut those. Again, that's another humongous sign of a gigantic problem that isn't going to go away per the history books and per everything that's ever come out of Washington or Wall Street. The reason for printing money, causing inflation, causing higher interest rates, then cutting those rates right before an election, and also to try and help things look easier and stay vibrant, right? Flood the world with more cheap American dollars, again, is then going to cause and inspire inflation, which is then eventually they're going to have to raise rates again. Eventually, the whole thing collapses because you run out of the resource called the dollar. Right. That's why I keep beating that drum for folks to take notice that it's only worth 2.7 cents. As they print, they kill the value of the dollar. Can we all understand that eventually it gets to zero?
Yeah. So the more, I took Econ 101 in college, so I understand that, the more of something there is, right, the less its value, right? So if they keep printing these dollars, it's going to be less value. Now in 2000, the number you use is that the dollar was worth 56 cents. Now it's worth 2.7 cents, right? Which is why housing prices have inflated so much, and now it's out of reach to people. And it's because of a big part of it is because of the money printing.
Yes, the whole thing is the money printing. I've done some rudimentary calculations just to try and understand how big of a black hole are we actually in. And I ask folks, you know, when they report that GDP is a positive number, just consider that revenue for the year for America Incorporated, everything that happened with an American individual or a business as revenue. Did we grow this year or shrink? Since 2008, that would be a negative number without the printed money.
Really?
The government raising the debt ceiling and the Federal Reserve doing what it does behind the scenes. It would be a negative number since 2008. Negative GDP growth, down, a shrinking economy if it weren't for the printed money.
Well, the good news is that all these things are making gold skyrocket and more attractive. So this guy says the opportunity cost of holding gold is coming down. This very fast decline in real yields and the weakening of the dollar generally, which is what you've always been talking about since you started coming on the show, makes me quite happy to use gold as another currency to be short the dollar. So far in 2024, spot gold has rallied by more than a fifth, with banks including Goldman Sachs Group Inc. saying as far back as April that prices had the scope to hit $2,700 an ounce. After Powell's roadmap at the Jackson Hole Symposium on Friday, U.S. 10-year real yields have now retreated to the lowest since December. That benefits gold as it doesn't pay interest. Right. So is he talking about when he says U.S. 10-year real yields, does that mean on T-bills?
Yes.
Oh, okay. And so that benefits gold as it doesn't pay interest. So
right, because the amount you're getting paid to have your car in that parking spot is declining. As they cut rates, then they're going to take rates down. You're going to get paid less to have your car, like, for instance, parked in a CD.
Right.
Right. And that's something else that hurts the infrastructure of the financial world is when we leave the investments they want us in for a CD or a bond, right? Then that money isn't in the general marketplace. It's kind of moved off to the sidelines. And so they want that money back, right? So if you cut rates, the Fed pays less on the interest on the debt. You grease the system to go flying back into typical investments that have more risk in them, perceived risk in them, than a CD.
Yeah. Okay. So that's funny. That's where I have my money. I have my money in gold, T-bills, CDs, and something in Bitcoin. That's my gamble. Bitcoin's my gamble. I'm really going to gamble on it.
And because you didn't want the stock market because you couldn't trust it.
I don't want to put my money in the stock market. Anyway, so that's just me. That's me personally. I've never liked the stock market. Ever since 2008, when I see it's run by complete criminals. Anyway, hedge funds and speculators have been adding, and if I wanted to, you go invest in Raytheon and go invest in a weapons manufacturer, you're going to be doing okay. But I can't take that kind of money. I don't want to invest in tobacco or poison, and I don't want to in bombs. I don't want to do that. But anyway, hedge funds and speculators have been adding bullish wagers on COMEX. That's just like that's the Wall Street for precious metals. Hedge funds and speculators have been adding bullish wagers on COMEX, with net long bullion positions hitting the highest in more than 4 years. There are also signs of a revival in demand for gold-backed ETFs. Holdings in SPDR gold shares, one of the leading products, have expanded for the 8 straight weeks, the longest run of inflows since the mid-2020. So gold is really booming right now. To be sure, even with Western investors warming to the precious metals, prices may be vulnerable to softening consumption in Asia, where lofty prices have hurt demand. China's central bank also recently paused its substantial monthly purchases, weakening 2 of the pillars that helped lift gold in the first half. For now, though, Citigroup Inc. sees inflows into ETFs expanding significantly over 6 to 12 months, with demand bolstered by looser monetary policy as well as a potential increase in volatility among recessionary risks. Gold may reach $3,000 an ounce by mid-2025, the bank said in a note before Powell's address. So
right.
it's really notable that people are actually starting to move to that physical gold ETF side now, said Ryan McIntyre, managing partner of Sprott Inc., a Toronto-based precious metals and critical minerals asset manager with $31.1 billion in assets under management. Buying through the ETFs is going to be a big, big part of gold's story. So that's the good news about gold right now. And I've had many people, you included, but I've had other people who don't, have a gold company, don't trade in gold. People are into Bitcoin, have told me, yes, gold's a good hedge. I've had people who run hedge funds, billionaire hedge funds on Wall Street say, yeah, gold is a good hedge on all that stuff. So that's where I'm putting it. Any more comment on this story, Paul?
Just the other side of the coin, if you will.
Do you want me to show that? Do you want me to show that thing yet, or you want me to wait?
Wait 1 second.
Okay, go ahead.
Just to wrap up here on this story that you're interested in talking about is the other coin is for people who may not even like gold and silver. They may not like the idea or think it's a nuisance or annoying to go through the work to move money into physical gold and silver. All kinds of questions go, where am I going to put it? Heck, I can't go shopping with it. What would I ever do with it? Please take a look at the severity of our political landscape, the severity of this financial erosion, that gold and silver is going higher when all of the signals that come out of Washington and Wall Street is that everything is awesome here in America. Please understand better than gold and silver going higher this year is that it's a location for money. So when you hold something electronically, how many different hands does that transaction have to go through that you don't control and don't understand just how good or bad they're actually doing behind the walls, behind the surface, right? When you own physical gold and silver, you don't have to worry about all that. All those dependencies are gone. Gold and silver is in a safe at your home. It's in a depository. They're all private, insured, and armed guards and all the lights out security measures that exist today in these depositories. If you had to, you'd ride a horse there and ride off with your gold and silver. If things ever got that bad, that would be the only thing you'd consider money, is gold and silver. But on the other side of this very disruptive and ugly financial chaos that this period of time that we'll likely have to go through soon, on the other side of that, you come out of gold and silver and go back into something else. You go back into some other version of money, whatever it is we're using down the road. I'd like people to understand you may not like gold and silver, but please sober up to the fact that there's so many reasons today screaming at you to pay attention that you ought to have some. Even if you don't like it, give us a call, look us up online. Let us help you understand why we see the world we do, the way we do. We want to be helpful.
All right. So I want to... Well, that story makes me feel good about me putting my money in gold. Anyway, I want to show people this. So, Paul, you sent me this. This is 2010 to 2024 economic indicators. And so this line here is total value in stock market. So what do you want to say about this, this graph? So this is from 2010 values down there, and this is 2024% increase. So
we want to talk about the whole sphere of the artificial financial inflationary game that makes lots of people feel great about how well they've done. And at the same time, they can be complaining at the gas pump or at the grocery store. For most people, there's just a lot of reason to complain. There's a lot of pain and anguish.
Well, because this
so
is
when we go to quickly to, I'm going to get to that one.
Okay.
When you go to 2007, our debt to how great the country's doing as a ratio was about half. For the money we did for the year, half of that was the amount of debt we carried. In 2010, it was 86%. So to get through the 08 recession, they took our debt load from 50% to 86% in 3 years. Wow. This is what I'm trying to get people to understand. So this is a look beneath the surface. If you go back to the chart, you'll see that the value of the stock market has exploded. Exploded from 2010. Look at
2010. It's exploded, but people's
and you look at that bottom line, the dashed line.
This is people's average.
This is where the pain comes from. That's wage growth. That's household income growth. Hardly grew at all.
Hardly grew at all. But look at your rent grew this much, your home prices grew that much, your cost to raise a child to 18 went up that much, your gasoline, eggs, corporate profit, stock market, total value in stock. So everything was blowing. All the costs are going way up. Stock market.
Now look at that one. The corporate profit growth.
Yeah.
Look how different that is from household income growth. How evil is that?
So that's corporate gouging. Is that what that is?
It's just they're closer to the money printing than Harry Homeowner is.
Right. Okay.
Right. They're closer and have access to cheap dollars when dollars was free to borrow from 2008 to 2016. Obama, his entire presidency, interest rate was 1/4 of a point by zero. So you literally could have borrowed $1 billion, put it in the stock market, you'd have $5 billion today. You could have borrowed money and just invested it, but most people, Harry Homeowner, doesn't have access to go borrow, even think to go sign a note for $100 grand or $1 million and invest it in something. They've been struggling. Their paychecks have gotten eaten away. And let's say you had $1 million in 2010, you have $1 million today. You've easily lost 30% of that buying power. Like back in the movie, if no one remembers this in your audience, I apologize, but Jimmy Stewart, A Wonderful Life, when he loses that $8,000 deposit at the bank, that would be $128,000 today in just 50 years.
Yeah.
So 40 years. So I want people to understand this is erosion. This is falsehood. This is artificial. This isn't real. The next chart we could show, but we don't need to, just picture something worth 100 cents 100 years ago, 56 cents 24 years ago, and 3 cents today. You're burning that resource. This is where the printed money went. It went into eggs. It went into gasoline. It went into, to get this one. In 2010, it would cost 225 grand to raise a kid from 0 to 18 years old. Today, it would cost you $465,000 to raise a newborn today to 18 years old.
Wow.
That's $25,000 a year per child. When average income is $70,000 a year. Average income. Most people having kids are at a junior level of income. So now you understand how much struggle. So that gets more services, more demand on the government for needs. That's why Kamala's talking about, oh, we'll give parents a break having kids, 5-6 grand a year. Printing money is causing the ruin. It's causing the anguish. It's causing things to look strong and awesome as hell. But when people wake up in your audience and look beneath the surface, this is looking under the hood at a used car. You don't want to buy this car. It's worn out. It's got a great paint job, brand new tires, and shiny rims. But mechanically speaking, it's shot.
So rich people get that. They were getting that 1% money for free. They were investing that in the stock market. And look at how much money the rich people can make. But regular people who actually work and get a paycheck, they don't have access to that kind of money. They're not going to go borrow that money and put it. And so they're lagging so far behind it, and all that, everything, eggs, gasoline, rent, raising a kid. So my fear is that, so right before this was 2008 when this went, and I have a feeling that's coming. In fact, it looks like it's going down again, right? Is that, No,
that's a line to show you. It's still going up.
It's still going up?
One thing to compare, though, perhaps just for analysis, not that my crystal ball is making a prediction, but the delta, the difference between the orange dashed line, household income, and what the stock market's worth, household income is your floor.
Right.
That's where reality lives. So when everything craters back to reality, that's the distance, that giant distance that things can fall. And there's an economist that I follow, Mr. Dent, who's talking about markets losing maybe 86% of their value. Most of it's inflated. The stock market was 7,000 when it started to rise again in 2010. So if you thought of that as a realistic level, and today it's 40,000, where did all the greatness come from? It came from the printing press. It came from something artificial, which goes into your accounts, which goes into your salaries, which goes into the cost of everything you have or own or invested in. And that's why you want to look at gold and silver as a location. There's 4 locations for your money: cash in a safe at home, real estate in the financial world, and in the vault.
And gold is the vault?
Yeah.
Okay. So, okay, that's quite a chart, actually. When you look at it like that, that is quite a chart. So now when the stock market starts to crash, is that just people saying, "Hey, they fear that, just like a bank run, they want to go get their cash out, and so everybody starts taking their cash out of the stock market at one time"? Is that pretty much how it works?
Such a great question. It doesn't even have to be everybody. And again, not financial advice, not a trained economist, things I've read and studied. If anyone can take the time to set me straight, I only want to talk accurately to my great American brothers and sisters. So I'm going off what I've read and studied for many, many years as that accurate analysis. And here's the story. If the market is worth around $50 trillion today, experts have said there's only $6 trillion on a good day of liquidity behind that number. So if your values are here, but the actual pool of money is way lower than that, if 10%, just by analysis, if 10% of folks wanted to sell everything they had, then it becomes a game of, well, if I'm a financial institution, do I want to part with my precious liquidity for your shares? I may not want your shares. So then the shares just fall even lower and lower and lower and faster, because what's more important, Jimmy, in that analysis, money or someone's shares?
Right. Got you.
Money. And that's the other thing when people think, well, here's what I'm worth. Oh, is that money? No, if it's in an investment, that's not money. That's something you still have to sell for it to become money.
Right.
It's not money. You can't go shopping at Walmart with stock in Walmart. Right. So you'd have to liquidate that. If you're waiting and there's a choke point that can easily be triggered, where, yes, a lot of institutional action wants to liquidate what they're in because they see things going lower and they want to lock in profits. Don't forget, most of the institutional advisors are bonused in December based off performance for the year. They want to watch the level of their bonus shrink for some reason. So if they all start running for the exits, there's not much liquidity available. Prices can fall very, very quickly because no one really wants shares. You can't build a home with shares, right? You can't buy groceries with shares. You can't pay for your kids' college with shares. You have to turn that back to money. So before any of that crash happens, you want to say, well, is it likely? Is it possible? How close might we be to that? And relocate some or a good portion or some giant portion of your retirement savings to something you feel more secure about. You can't protect your home with stock and Smith & Wesson. But you can protect your financial savings with real metal, just like you'd protect your home with an actual Smith & Wesson.
Okay. Well, Paul, I know you live, do you mind if I tell people where you live? Is it a secret?
No, it's not a secret. I'm a very happy resident of a very red state.
He's in Florida, in West Palm Beach. Now, you used to live right down the street over here in Santa Monica, correct?
Right, near Santa Monica.
Near Santa Monica. And Steph and I love West Palm. It's one of our favorite places. But
I love rain, right? And I love a warm ocean, right?
A warm ocean.
It's not necessarily the politics, but the people are nice and friendly. It's a great state. But I love rain, and we get incredible rain here, incredible cloud formations here. I just love Florida.
Yeah, we were just in Chicago. It rained the first 2 days we were there. And
well, maybe. Sorry it rained on your vacation.
Yeah. Well, we were working. But anyway, Paul, it's great to talk to you. Thanks for this chart. Thanks for your insight on the gold rush that's happening, according to Bloomberg. And everybody should check out Paul's Substack at thepaulstone.substack.com. Thanks for coming on, buddy.
Oh, thank you for having me, Jimmy. It was great to be back. Okay. Love you, man.
Okay, you too. All right, let's take a break, and we'll be right back with Kurt. Have you ever wondered what happened to the legendary Chuck Norris? I recently saw a video he made. I saw it, and I was shocked. He's in his 80s, and he's still kicking butt and working out and staying active. He actually is. What's even more shocking is he's stronger, can work out longer, and even has plenty of energy left over for his grandkids. It actually inspired me to stay in shape. Honest. Because, you know what? I want to be in my 80s. I want to be able to still enjoy it, right? I want to be able to enjoy it. Why not? He did this by just making one change. Who did that? Chuck Norris. He says he still feels like he's in his 50s. His wife even started doing this one thing, too, and she's never felt better. She says she feels 10 years younger. Her body looks leaner, and she has energy all day. Chuck made a special video, which I watched, that explains everything. Make sure you watch it by going to chuckdefense.com/Jimmy or by clicking in the link below this video. It will change the way you think about your health. Once again, that's chuckdefense.com/Jimmy. And click on the link in the description below and watch the video. You won't believe how simple it is. Just a reminder that the legendary Chuck Norris is a whopping 84 years old and has more energy than me, okay? He discovered he could create dramatic changes to his health simply focusing on 3 things that sabotage your body as we age. Watch this method and his method by clicking on the link in the description box below. That's chuckdefense.com/Jimmy.
Hey, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down there for more AM Joy and the rest of MSNBC. And click on any of the videos right here to watch the latest interviews and highlights. And you can get more videos from MSNBC for free every day with our newsletters. Just visit
Isn't it swell? The memes make themselves. They found a rabbi hole, tunnels and all. There's Jews in the walls. Isn't it bliss? The rabbinical grace soiling the mattresses. Well, let me tell you. If I were Rabbi Shmuley and diddle 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 digga digga diddle diddle dum, all day long I'd diddle little bums. If I were a Shmuley man, I'd peddle all my dildos, dreidel dildos, selling dildos with my daughter and her mum. If I were a Jewish bully man, I'd be digging with a dildo in my bum. I'd wear a grotesque nose and go grab some goyim right on the nipple with a pinch. A Shabbos lap dance brace for the youngest mensch.
At this time, more than any other time, you know, revolution is necessary. It is necessary. Not only based on what has happened with the MOVE organization, you know, the babies that have been murdered, you know, MOVE adults that have been murdered, bombs being dropped on us, but past that to what is happening with all black people, so-called minority people, you know, money poor people. You know, this government, as has been said earlier, has waged war on us. But you know, something about us, particularly here in America, we don't really understand that. You know, we don't really know what war is. You know, for black people, for poor people, that people see as good, that they wasn't forced to do, that they didn't do to try to keep black people appeased, you know, and calm down so that black people wouldn't riot. A prison situation is a crystallized example of that. You can make phone calls in prison. They have movies in prison. But they don't have those things because they just want to be nice to prisoners. They have those things because they know damn well if they don't have, you know, people being able to contact their family, if they don't have, you know, facilities for people to sit there and watch movies, people are going to be frustrated, upset, and they're going to direct that frustration at them prison administrators. And they're going to have riots on their hands. You know, they're going to have people in them prisons turning them prisons out. That's why they have movies. That's why they have access to phones the way they do. And a stop to it when we don't like it, or encouraging it when it's something that's in our interest. You know, we have to call the shots. The people have to take the reins of this system and start dictating, you know, what we need, what needs to be done. And, you know, taking the initiative to do it ourselves. We can't rely on this system. I mean, you know, don't people see what's happening? Every single confrontation that MOVE people have been involved in, every single issue, you know, oppression, economic issues, every single issue facing our people, you know, is something that can be dealt with very, very simply. All people got to do is make their wishes known. All people have to do is stand up and say, listen, we're not accepting that. Unity is the key. Unity is the key to revolution. Revolution ain't nothing to be afraid of. It ain't nothing to shy away from. Revolution, contrary to what officials, you know, this system and those backing the officials running this system, you know, want people to believe that revolution means violence, you know, means blood in the street. I'm saying it can get to that point, but it don't have to be violent. You know, when people come together and take a strong stand on an issue, this government don't have no choice but to listen. Where you think they get their authority from? They don't have no power, but they do have authority to do certain things. Where you think they get it from? They get it from us, from the people. You know, they get it from us accepting the things that they do to be done to stop it. Then you have some people who want to then turn around and say, yeah, well, you know, it's the best we have, and want to make excuses. The time for excuses is over. It's over. You know, every man, woman, and child has to be involved in this revolution. Not only has to be, but is, whether you want to be or not. I mean, our babies gave their lives for this revolution on May 13th. You know, men, women, and children were murdered. And not just MOVE babies, you know. What about all of the young men, women, you know, children 8, 9 years old shot down on the street by cops, you know, by drug pushers? I mean, you know, where do you think that mentality comes from? It comes from this system, from the mentality of this system of getting over, making a quick buck, I'm saying that's where that needs to be done to stop it. Then, what I want people to really, really understand is that it's past time. It is past time for poor people, black people, to realize that this system has failed you. It has failed you. You can't get nothing from it. And what people got to do is withdraw our support from it and start doing for ourselves. That's what we got to do. How long are people going to sit back and beg, this government to do what's right when for hundreds of years, all you've gotten is a slap in the face. All you've gotten is this government kicking your ass. That's all. That's all black people have ever gotten from this government.